Welcome to Local Fellowship, and today we are in Lake Orion at St. Joe's Catholic Church. And as much as I enjoy visiting all of the churches through this program, it truly feels like home because this is where I'm a member. So I would like to and proudly introduce Father Mike from the parish. How are you today?
Fine, Pauline. Thank you very much.
And thank you for taking your time out of your busy day to have a little chat with us. So what can you tell us about the parish here?
Well, St. Joseph Parish here in Lake Orion was founded in 1928, so we are in our 87th year. And its founding really was deliberate, bringing together two communities at the time. There was a Catholic mission church in Oxford called St. Elizabeth, and a Catholic mission church in Lake Orion called St. Thomas. In fact, the original St. Thomas church is still standing. It's a Baptist church now, framed church on Beebe Street. The original St. Elizabeth mission was where the McDonald's used to be before they built the new McDonald's across the highway there in Oxford. So the two communities existed separately. They didn't have a regular pastor, but in 1928 the bishop assigned Father Joseph Ording to come here to the area to create St. Joseph Parish from the two communities that existed then. So in 1928 St. Joseph Parish was founded. It was basically a resort and farm parish and townspeople as well. But then after the founding of the parish, Father Ording organized the community and they raised money to build this current church, or at least a portion of the church that we're sitting in now. In 1939, this beautiful stone and brick and timber structure was built in the form of a Greek cross, and they chose this hill between Orion and Oxford, a way of bringing the two communities together. And so since 1939, actually the first Mass was celebrated in this structure, Christmas Eve, 1940. And at this very altar, it's original to the church. And so since 1940, the Eucharist and worship has been taking place on this site between the towns of Orion and Oxford. Of course, our parish encompasses also the villages of Lakeville and Leonard as well. So we've been here quite a while.
And you do circumference quite a large area. And that's going to lead me to the next question because of the growth. So at one point in time, there was a change to the church, or an addition?
Yes. In 1997, the west wing of this church was tore down. The walls were pushed out. The seating space was expanded to house a very large congregation. During the 1990s, the parish doubled and tripled in size. So this was my home parish, actually. I celebrated my first Mass at this altar in 1977. Since the 70s, there's been tremendous growth, as you know, in the Oxford Orion communities, Lakeville and Leonard. So now, when I was young here, the parish was about 700 households or families. Today we're over 3,000 households or
That's
families.
amazing growth.
So even with the expansion of the church building, we still have 5 services on the weekend, 5 Masses. And the expansion of the building itself is very interesting. Local architect, Mr. Steve Auger,
Yes.
member of the parish, very active here in our community, was hired. I believe this was his master's thesis, combining the old with the new, so preserving the best of the old architecture of this beautiful stone and brick and timber building, expanding it and harmonizing with the new. I think he did a marvelous job, and as a parish, all of us as members are very proud of this building. It's warm, it's inviting, and it's a place where we come together not only as the body of Christ here, but come here to meet Jesus in His Word and in sacrament.
And it is blended very well, and you can tell over and behind us is the new part, and how it blends is just magnificent. So we're going to go on to a little bit of history about not so much this parish, but the Catholic Church overall. What can you share about that?
Well, the Catholic Church, we trace our roots back to the apostles. So we believe, as the Orthodox communion does, the Orthodox churches of the East along with the Roman Catholic Church of the West, we say we trace our roots all the way back to the apostles. We are an apostolic church, and so we believe that the successors of the apostles, the bishops that were ordained after the apostolic times, we have succession all the way back to the apostles. The Catholic Church in the world today, the Roman Catholic Church, and there are more than one Catholic churches actually. There's Catholic churches of the East, Melkite and Maronite rites, Byzantine rites. There are 17 Catholic churches that are in communion or union with the Pope in Rome. We are the largest of the 17 Catholic churches. We are the Roman Catholic Church, 1.2 billion in our world today. And the Catholic Church, being such a long-standing church and institution, we have a glorious and a sordid past. We're saints and sinners. But I think the great strength of the Catholic Church all through history, I think our charism has been unity. We're like a big family. God forgive me for saying this, maybe a dysfunctional family through history, but we're a family nonetheless. And so maybe we haven't always been correct or right, and we've done terrible things in our history, but we're still a family, just like any family. We try to maintain unity. So that's a charism I think, of the Roman Catholic Church. Other churches have different charisms. I think many Protestant churches in their history broke off from the Roman Catholic Church because they saw things differently. Their charism maybe is to be correct and right. But in the Roman Catholic Church, we are diverse. We are in every continent. We are truly today a global church. While our roots initially were in the Mideast with the apostles, then in the Mediterranean and Rome, basically a European church, today we are a global church. 1.2 billion around the world and representing every continent, just about every culture on the face of the earth.
It is amazing history when you go on like that. But one thing that I was not aware of, there were 17 different Catholic churches. Do they vary extremely from the Roman Catholic or the Catholic Church that we're aware of, or are they somewhat similar?
Very similar. We have the same creed. In fact, in the year 2025 will be the 1700th anniversary of the Council of Nicaea that gave us the Nicene Creed that we use in the liturgy every weekend. The Nicene Creed professes that we are one holy, Catholic, and Apostolic Church. And so all the churches of East and West, the Orthodox churches, still honor the Nicene Creed. They pray that creed as well. It's one of the visions of our Holy Father, Pope Francis, that in the year 2025, there will be a council in Jerusalem to bring East and West back together. We have had a schism in the Christian church between East and West for the last 1,000 years, since 1054, hoping that all the churches that profess the Nicene Creed will come back together. And so that is a creed that unifies us and is a challenge for us too, to be true to our faith.
I think we need to take a break now, but that sounds very interesting, and we might pick up on that when we come back. So we're going to take a few seconds here, and we'll see you all back shortly.
Hi, this is Connie again from Connie's Kitchen, coming to you from Treetop Lodge, the place where magic happens and unicorns roam freely. Of course, you have to come to the lodge to understand about the unicorn thing, but they're everywhere. We'll be doing a wide variety of cooking shows here on Oxford Community Television, and I personally would like to thank the crew for coming out and giving me this opportunity to share my passion and what I love to do with you from Connie's Kitchen. So please join us on OCTV, join us at the lodge, and look for us all over the town. And if you see unicorns, they probably came from here. See you soon.
Welcome back. We're at St. Joe's Catholic Church in Lake Orion, and we're going to take a few moments now just to show you the beautiful interior and exterior of the building. Please note the beautiful stained glass windows and just the ambiance of the church in itself. Welcome back. We're with Father Mike, and he's going to give us a brief history lesson about the 17 churches.
Right, the 17 churches that are in communion with the Roman Catholic
Yes.
Church. Basically, these are churches of the East and Eastern Europe, Byzantine Church, for example. We are Catholic altogether, but there's different practices and different worship and different languages used in the church. For example, the Maronite Church, basically centered in Lebanon, in their liturgy and their Mass, they use the actual words that Jesus spoke. They use ancient Aramaic. The Roman Catholic Church used Latin. The Byzantine Church used Greek and some of the Eastern European languages. So they have different customs, different disciplines.
Okay.
The Roman Catholic Church, the priests are celibate. In churches of the East, they marry. But we're all Catholic, and we're diverse. And again, like a big family, our charism is to try to be one. And it's hard to be one when we're so diverse, but I think it's a gift of the Holy Spirit to the church that somehow we are Catholic and we are one.
That is interesting how you said some can marry in the Roman Catholics camp, but that could be for another show, all the
Sure.
different traditions. This is one of the favorite parts that I think for local fellowship is when I ask a little bit about the pastor, or in your case, father. What drew you to become a father?
Oh.
How did that happen?
Well, I grew up in a devout Catholic family. In fact, I'm the oldest of 9 in the family. My mom and dad are devout, and they're still alive, devout Roman Catholics. Both my grandmothers lived with us when I was little. So I think my grandmothers had something to do with my desire to become a priest. They taught me my prayers. They talked about God as someone real to them and helped me understand that God is truly present. I found my grandmothers and my parents very believable in their faith. That drew me to the faith. But I think since the time I was 5 years old, I wanted to be a priest.
Really? So you were that young and you knew?
Well, some kindergartners, they want to be firemen or policemen or race car drivers or wrestlers. I think when I went to church with my family, I saw the priest. I want to be a priest. Of course, as you grow and mature, your reasons change. And over the course of my life, I found that it was a call that fit me, and I'm very grateful for that. My brothers and sisters sometimes say to me, Mike, you're the only one in our family who really loves his job. I think I'm grateful that God called me to this ministry, this work that really suits who I am, and I find a chance to give back to God from the wonderful things God has given me in my life.
That's quite a compliment, too, that
I think
your siblings are giving you. So do you find it, for lack of words, odd that you actually, your family was from this area, you did your first Mass here at St. Joe's, and now you're back? I mean, isn't it funny how life happens?
Yes. When I was a young man here in the parish and still in seminary, the parish is very different than it is today. There are still people that I remember from my youth. But to come back to your home parish, there's a risk. Jesus said a prophet is never accepted in his own hometown, and in Nazareth they tried to throw him off the hill. So it was a risk for me to come back here to Orion and Oxford, but not really. But you know, I came back almost 12 years ago now as pastor to this community where I grew up, and it's been a blessing. It's been a really a wonderful experience. It's a large, very young community. We have, as I said, about 3,000 households. We have a very active Catholic school. I believe you went to the school here,
Yes,
Pauline.
I did, yes.
St. Joseph, Lake Orion. The school is now in its 63rd year of operation. We have about 330 students currently in the school,
Nice.
pre-K through 8th grade. We also have in our after-school programs 800 children in religious formation other than the school. So it's a vibrant, young community with a great history. We have wonderful seniors. We have everything from 2 to 92 here. And it's a wonderful community.
That's great to hear that you have so many young kids involved in coming after school for the religious side. That's a really high number.
It is. But that's a testimony to their parents' faith,
Yes.
and desire for the children to continue in the Catholic faith as well.
So are priests, for lack of words again, transferred, or can you stay in this parish for as long as you desire?
Well, that's a good question. We have an assignment board in our archdiocese, and so we have a 6-year term
Okay.
as a pastor, which is renewable, so I've renewed it. And now that I'm getting towards the end of my career as a pastor, I'll be 70 in about 5 years. I'm going to ask the bishop if I can stay on until I'm 70. Whether or not he'll accept that, that's up to him. But I'm here to serve, and if God gives me the health and the strength to continue as pastor here, I think it'll be a great blessing for me and a great honor to serve here.
That's wonderful. That is good news. So I know that you wanted to touch base on the altar behind us. So what can you tell us about that?
This altar is special. You won't find an altar like this in too many Catholic churches. It was carved, we believe, in Italy, so I think it's Italian work, probably 1939. It's original to the church. It has 4 inscriptions on the altar, and the one that's the inspiration for the altar is on the other side of the altar. There's deer on both sides of the altar drinking at a stream of water or fountain. It's Psalm 42, verse 1. As the deer thirsts for running streams, so my soul thirsts for you, my God. And so you see right here, the deer at the fountain.
Yeah.
My father, my brothers, my nephews, they're all deer hunters, and when we would be here for Mass, I'm sure in November, my dad would be thinking of the hunt, looking at the altar. But that altar is really about God hunting us. So we have a thirst in us for God. Like the deer thirsts for running streams, so my soul thirsts for you, my God. When this church was built, we're built in Orion, Oxford. We're living as a vacation, I think the sign says, when you're coming up M24. It's a beautiful area with lakes and woods. And so on this altar, you see pine trees carved. You have 3 other quotes there from the Bible, in Latin, of course, from the book of Daniel. All you wild beasts of the Lord, bless the Lord, praise and exalt him above all forever. All you lands, bless the Lord, praise and exalt him above all forever. The last quote, all you fountains and water sources of the Lord, praise and exalt him above all forever. So it's a celebration of the beauty of nature, the longing in our hearts for God. And on this altar table, of course, we meet God in the Eucharist, sharing the body and blood of Christ, our highest form of worship. Now, the pulpit, or the ambo here, is new to the church, the 1997 renovation. The artist from Mount Clemens carved that pulpit to match the altar. It has the 4 evangelist symbols on there, and also in Latin words from the opening of St. John's Gospel. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and God dwelt among us. And the Word dwelt among us. So we know that the altar of the Word is very important for us. For us as Catholics, there's 2 sources primarily where we meet God in worship, but of course we meet God everywhere. But we meet God in His Word and in the sacrament of this altar table. But even before we get to this place, we meet God in each other. And the Scriptures remind us we meet God in the poor, the hungry, the naked, the prisoners, the sick. Matthew 25 reminds us, as long as we did it for one of these least ones, we have done it for Jesus himself. So we meet God everywhere in the world. We meet God in each other, in the body of Christ. But when we come to this raised up place here, altar means high place, 3 steps up from the floor. Here we meet God in his word, especially in the gospel when Jesus speaks to us. And we meet God at this altar table, the body and blood of Christ.
Thank you. And I really enjoyed that translation. That was very peaceful. I mean, it was very nice. We're going to need to take another break, but we will be back to learn about anything future that Father Mike has planned for St. Joe's.
Take off your hat, throw it in the corner. Take off your hat, throw it in the corner. Take off your hat, throw it in the corner. I don't see why you should stay a little longer. I'm talking about Boozy. Ooh, Boozy, that's who. Oh yeah, come on down. Stay a little longer.
Hi everyone, don't forget you can purchase DVDs of your favorite shows from OCTV, whether it's Minutes by Minute, Our Community Access, or Connie's Kitchen. Just call the station. Our number is 248-628-9658. Enjoy watching all of our shows on OCTV.
Okay, I know we promised we're going to talk about the future, but there's just so much history here at St. Joe's. We're going to go back and we're going to talk about the organ. What can you tell us about that?
Well, the pipe organ was dedicated a year ago in January, January 25th of 2014. It's really a recycled instrument. So typical now for many mainline churches, and a lot of churches are closing. There's been demographic shifts. People are moving from the city. And so many of the beautiful churches had wonderful instruments, pipe organs. So we acquired this pipe organ from Ascension Parish in Warren.
Okay.
After it closed. We kept the organ and all its pipes in storage, and a little over a year ago we received a bequest and we were able to build it. And it's actually an organ builder from Dryden, Mr. David Wickton, who redesigned the organ, fit it for our space, and we're just thrilled about the organ. The largest pipe you see there in the middle is 14 feet long. The smallest is the size of a pencil. There are 1,750 pipes in the organ, and it's really designed to assist us in our worship, to lead the congregational singing, to add beauty to the liturgy.
So is this used for every service?
Not every service. We have 12 different musical groups here, so including a children's choir, a formal men and women's choir, a chant choir. We have rock masses here a few times a year. We have contemporary choir. So we have all different kinds of music. The organ isn't used for every service,
okay.
But probably at least for half the services we have.
Yes, the music is very beautiful here, whatever mass
yes.
you decide to go to. So where do you see St. Joe's in the future?
The future is a very important thing for us. We've been forming committees to prepare for the future. One of the challenges for all churches, I think, is to get the active involvement of the youth.
Yes.
And so just recently we've employed a consultant company to help us update our website to make it interactive. Young people are on the web all the time, and so to reach out to them, we have to be able to reach them in the medium that they use. And so we're looking at updating ourselves electronically, putting information on the web, interactive. I think the biggest challenge for us, Pope Francis has kind of laid down the gauntlet for us. He has said the church should not remain within the walls. We have to go out.
Yes.
The church should be like, he said, a field hospital. We should be tending to the wounded, to those who need God. We shouldn't be turned in on ourselves, but reaching out. And so we will be participating with all the 250 parishes of the Detroit Archdiocese in 2016 in a regional synod on evangelization. So every parish is going to be challenged to look at its mission, its vision. Where are we going? How are we inviting people? How are we trying to bind up wounds and welcome people back to church and seek those who are lost and maybe don't know Christ? So that'll be a challenge for us, but it's a good challenge for this parish and for every parish because it's about spreading the good news. It's not about hanging on to Jesus, it's about sharing him with others. So that's going to be a big part of our future, getting ready for the Synod of 2016, but also as a parish trying to look at everything we do. I think one thing that's guiding our future is a vision statement that we created in 2007, and it reflects this altar actually. So it's a simple vision statement. We are the presence of Christ, calling those who hunger and thirst for God, one in mind and heart. We are sent to transform the world. So that vision statement
Very nice.
really reflects Scripture. We are one in mind and heart. We're Catholic. We're trying to be one as a family. We are the presence of Christ. Christ is in us. We are calling those who hunger and thirst for God, not just sitting within these walls, but calling, inviting people who hunger and thirst to know God and Jesus, his Son, and we're sent to transform the world. So a big part of our mission here is to reach out to the poor. We have a very active St. Vincent de Paul Society. People here are very generous. We do so much to reach out to the community as well. And that's certainly going to be a part of our future.
That's wonderful, and usually I try to touch base on that, but we're going to run out of time because I would like, there's a lot of people who would like to volunteer for things, but they just don't know how to become involved, so maybe we'll have to save that for another time. We do have to close, but before we do you have anything that you would like to close with? Any special words of wisdom?
That's a challenge, Pauline. Preacher, as always, has lots of words, but I would just like to say that St. Joseph Parish is a wonderful community. People are very warm here. Being a large community, sometimes we can get lost here, but ultimately we're all about worshiping, experiencing Christ in our lives, listening to his word, receiving him in the Eucharist. You know, we don't give out donuts after Mass on Sunday, just donut holes, but at this altar we offer the bread of life. And so I think that's an invitation to everyone.
Thank you. And with that, we will close. It was a very quick 30 minutes. I hope you all enjoyed and hope you'll come back again.
You're watching OCTV, Oxford Community Television, serving Oxford, Addison Township, and the village of Leonard.